What if healing hearts, wholeness, and the courage to create again were unlocked by 7 simple keys? 1 in 6 of us will experience depression at some point of our lives. One of us may even be there right now. Depression is one of the leading causes of disability worldwide, affecting around 5% of the global population. Who here has ever said, "I'm fine," but meant freaked out, insecure, numb, and empty? That's the story of my life. The World Health Organization estimates every 43 seconds, someone dies by suicide. Every 3 seconds, someone tries. That's not a statistic. It's a heartbeat. Cut short or hanging by a thread. I know that pit of despair, having spent my life clinging to a rope, so frayed and slippery. It felt like someone had greased it just for fun. But God, in His kindness, interrupted my silence with sound and color. He used faith and creativity as unexpected keys for healing hearts. Science confirms what my heart has discovered. Creativity nurtures emotional expression, builds resilience, and offers a therapeutic outlet for healing hearts. A review of 37 studies published in Art and Health found that 80% of participants experienced reduced stress levels, a significant boost in self-esteem, and a more positive self-image. So yay to science for finally catching up with the language of healing hearts. 10 years ago, you would have met me smiling, serving, checking all the boxes of a responsible life, while quietly falling apart on the inside. I'd learned to breathe shallow and to shrink. I'd slipped into survival mode. My heart was exhausted when hubby's gentle suggestion to find a hobby nudged me towards healing hearts. So I joined the Greater Auckland Chorus. I failed to audition not once or twice, but 5 times. And when I finally passed, those 3 hours on the rises each week were my lifeline through the following week. Singing did not resolve my pain. It just steadied me enough to survive it. And surviving was just what I needed, because what was coming required every ounce of steadiness I could muster. 3 months later, we welcomed the 18-year-old single mom and her 3-month-old son into our home. I became Oma overnight and the go-to babysitter at the drop of the hat. It was a gift, until slowly the cracks in my armor began to show. 9 months later, I was sweeping the kitchen floor as I watched the girls walk out of the front door, taking the baby with them. Usually he stayed with me. I felt it before I understood it. A wave of worthlessness, so complete, I heard myself scream, "I'm not even good enough to look after the baby anymore." Then I reached for the dining room chair to move it out of the way and found myself hurling it out of the sliding door onto the deck. And then I collapsed onto the floor. The volcano that had been holding its breath finally erupted. All the tears I'd held in for decades came gushing out. Every instance of emotional neglect, displacement, trauma, criticism, betrayal, rejection, abandonment, grief, and loss, it all came out onto the floor. And in that undignified, completely unplanned, and absolutely not Pinterest-worthy moment, God met me. Not with judgment, but with a grace that simply said, "Finally, now we can begin." And then, one by one, he handed me the keys that changed my life. Faith is the master key to healing hearts. Without it, none of the others would turn. Faith anchors us in the storms and becomes our lantern when vision is dim. Singing heals hearts. Song regulates the body and steadies the heart. Drawing heals hearts. When trauma renders us speechless, lines and color speak. Painting heals hearts. The canvas holds grief without judgment, and color declares that sorrow no longer has the final word. Dancing heals hearts. Movement reminds the body it's not the enemy and allows healing to flow through breath and muscle. Writing heals hearts. Ink carries what the heart can't yet hold, and words stitch fragmented places back together. Speaking heals hearts. When testimony is spoken, shame loses its grip, and our story becomes a lifeline to those still stuck in despair. These keys don't compete, they harmonize. Faith lays the foundation, and creativity becomes the architecture. But wait, I hear you say, I'm not creative. I know that lie. I lived it for decades. But let me take you back when we were weak toddlers. We sang before we could talk. We danced before we could walk. We weren't afraid to draw stick figures. And we painted with confidence and delight. Why did we stop? Was it a lack of encouragement? Or a comparison that said your creation wasn't good enough? Maybe enthusiasm was brushed aside as a waste of time. We live in many worlds with one shared ache. A rat race culture with no time for fun, where we find ourselves dancing to the beat of that productivity drum. And slowly we close the door to free expression. And our creative identity gets buried under life's responsibilities and a mountain of lies. The truth is, everybody is creative. And creativity, when placed in God's hands, becomes a key to healing hearts. These keys aren't reserved for the gifted few. They're invitations for everyone. The kids came home that day. So did I. One key at a time. Many worlds, one story of healing hearts.